Welcome back to another edition of the Angels, and as you can see, things are once again not going well here in Angels land. Despite our rankings, despite how good this roster is on paper, the Angels just continue to underperform in the sim as we are sitting at 35 and 39 on the year, 9 games out of first place, 4 and 6 in our last 10. We are currently about mid-June on the season, about to take on the White Sox in a rubber match here, and if we win this series, that would be our first series win in the month of June, because you can see here, I guess if you want to count this one as a series win, even though we dropped this game to Baltimore, we did take the first 2 in May, but, you know, if you want to count that series in June because it goes into June, sure, but, you know, things have not been going well here in Angels land in the month of June, and, I mean, we're starting to get to the point where it's going to be draft and deadline time. And right now, if things keep trending this direction, we're going to start looking to just kind of get rid of guys and just play some of the kids. You know, we take a look at our budget here. As far as I'm concerned, like Detmers, if things keep going this way, Detmers is gone at the deadline. Brandon Lau, gone at the deadline. Griffin Jax, gone at the deadline. Ben Joyce even, probably gone at the deadline. Matt Strahm, gone, maybe even now, to be honest, because he's been pitching terribly this season, and at this point, it might just be better to cut bait and get a different lefty in the bullpen, because I think we might go ahead and do that, honestly, because Strahm has just been not it. He's got a 6 ERA, and his FIP is in the 6, so it's not like he's getting unlucky. He's just been terrible this season for us, because, you know, just the trend continues. I know he's 36, but, I mean, he's put up 3 really, really good seasons in Philadelphia and 2 in Cincinnati in this universe. And he comes here and he's immediately bad. Richie Palacios, probably a guy we move on from. I've already tried to send him down. He has enough service time where he can decline being sent down. So that's been a bummer. We'll probably trade him or DFA him at some point. Julian may or may not be gone at the deadline. Leaning towards he'll be back, but I'm not sure. Mears will probably be gone at the deadline. Perez gone at the deadline. Mead probably leaning towards getting rid of him. Sam Bachman probably leaning towards getting rid of him. Jose Quijada probably, you know, trading him or something. And then the rest of these guys are just, like, not really worth either getting rid of, or they're guys who haven't really had consistent time in the major leagues. Like, some of these guys would get chances in the big leagues. Like, maybe George Lombard comes up. Maybe Robert Hassel comes up for us. But you get the idea here. I mean, like, I just don't understand how this team is not performing. Like, we've had a couple guys who are underperforming, but we have better bats than we usually. I mean, look at these ratings. Look at they think we're the 11th best overall team in baseball, 9th best contact hitting team, 13th power, 7th pitching. They think our speed and defense is bad. Sure, whatever. I think our defense is fine. It's not like we're playing like complete zeros out there at any position defensively. But once again, the stats, Shawnuel being really, really good. He's the best bat on the team by far. Chandler Simpson has stunk it up for us. I'm not looking at OPS for a guy like this because he's never going to have a high OPS. I'm always looking at average and OBP for him. Just terrible. You can't be doing that. But it's not like Wenzel Perez has given us any type of indication that he should be playing more in center field. Zach Neto, he's been whatever. You would hope that this guy with these ratings perform better than he does. But, you know, he's had basically 3 straight seasons now of just going down, down, down with the ratings. And, you know, still looking decent, but still, you would expect more out of him. And he just never delivers more than he does at this point. He gives you some decent counting stats, and he gives you, like, at best, a 740 OPS, which is not what you want from this guy. But, you know, it's good enough when you have, like, 6 of these guys and no one Shawnuel, I feel like. We got Neto. Julian's around that level. Contreras, of course. We signed this guy to a big contract in the offseason, and he has his worst season by far. He's not at that MLB The Show regressing age yet. He's just being terrible this season, so all his ratings are tanking. Because that's just what happens to us, apparently. I mean, look at these ratings. Why should I have been concerned about him hitting poorly? He has 3 seasons of 896, 864, and 860 OPSs. 3 full seasons in Milwaukee doing that. 500 ABs all 3 years. That's a track record that you're like, all right, he's done it in the sim for 3 straight years. He comes here, and he's immediately just like, he's whatever. Reggie Coffey still hasn't fully put it together. He's been fine. This is his first full season, though, so we'll take that. He'll keep improving. Hopefully, he eventually turns into like an 800-plus OPS player, because you would think these ratings would lead to that, but so far it has not done so. Mike Trout has continued to be good for us. He is actually leading off for us, which we'll get into in a second here, because he's got the best OBP on the team aside from Shawnwell, who I don't want leading off, because if he leads off, then we have nobody hitting behind him, essentially. And I'd rather hit him second, because I feel like that's the best spot for him. But Trout, simply because he has 42 clutch and is never going to be able to drive in base runners, and he does get on base a decent amount, we are leading him off at the moment. Brooks Lee has been a disappointment for us this season. He is trending upwards right now, but overall, definitely disappointing. Brandon Lau's been a disappointment. Wenzel Perez has been terrible off the bench. He was terrible last year as well. Palacios has been awful in very small sample size off the bench. McCann's been fine in small sample size, and same with Curtis Mead. While on the pitching side of things, we've gotten good pitching performances from Shane McClanahan this year with a 3 ERA and a low 3 FIP. Andres Rivera has a 4 ERA but a low 3 FIP. He's been really, really good. The lefties have been our best starters, aside from Detmers, that is. Dana's been horrible, coming off his season where he was bad. He was really, really good for us last year. This year he's horrible. Klassen continues to not be able to put together like a really solid season. He's just like whatever. Detmers follows up his really, really good season by putting up a complete stinker before he heads into free agency. And then most of our bullpen has been fine, aside from like Quijada. Quijada's been good. His FIP is actually quite down. Ben Joyce has been really good. I mean, really the bullpen, it's everyone except for Matt Strom has been really good. So like on paper, we have guys who are performing at least decently. Some of the bats obviously are underperforming, but they're not like 600 OPSs like we have had in the lineup for us the past few seasons. And on paper, they should definitely be higher than what they're performing, but they're just not, because, I don't know, this game is torturing me to playing it forever. Like, the plan is not to post this series up until next year's game comes out. But like I said, we are going to go ahead and DFA Matt Strom. He is gone. See you. Goodbye. We are not trying to clear him through waivers. He'll just be released. And as far as lefties who are on the 40-man roster in AAA goes, we have two options. We have Victor Gonzalez, who's been on our system for a while. He's a veteran. He's 32. He's got some really solid ratings, and he continues to be really solid at the AAA level for us. And he's been AAA really solid the entire time we've had him. Then we also have this B potential guy, Gage Jump, who we picked up in the offseason, 24 years old. I think I'm leaning him just for the upside here. He's also been really good. His FIP has actually been better than Gonzalez's. He has a little bit higher of an ERA, but I mean, they're both sub-2 ERAs. Gage Jump has a higher K percentage, lower walk percentage, and they both have very small home run per nines. So I think we're just going to go with Gage Jump here and get the B potential guy up in the big leagues, and he's going to replace Matt Strom at the big league level. The Angels here in Anaheim playing host to the Chicago White Sox as they try to turn their season around. And on the bump is going to be the left-hander Andres Rivera, making his 15th start of the campaign, this Venezuelan. Start things off with him in the top of the first inning as Johnny Hampton of the Chicago White Sox rips one into right field for a leadoff base knock. And he would waste no time as the immediate next pitch goes and swipes second base as Contreras' throw is not in time. Desan Brown would, though, then ground out to the shortstop Lee for out number one. So one down runner on second base brings up Chase Mydroff as then Hampton getting a bit greedy there, trying to swipe third. This time Contreras nails him. Two down, then for the third, it's a strikeout on Mydroff as he could not pull the trigger. We move things on bottom half of the first inning where Owen White, the right-hander, was on the bump for the White Sox, making his 14th start of the campaign. Here in the bottom of the first, Mike Trout's going to lead things off with a rip off the bottom of that left field wall, that tiny little wall in left field, with a lead-off double for the Halos. So he's in scoring position, as then Shawnwell would just pop one up into center field. That's going to be one down. Next batter up is William Contreras. He gets punched out of the slider, watching it out number two, and then it is Brandon Lau whiffing through an inside cutter as they strand a runner at second base. Move things on to the top of the third inning. Remember Johnny Hampton? Well, he's back, folks. Hitting a ball over that right field fence entirely. Not a cheapie there as Hampton connects on that one. First run of the ball game goes to Chicago as the White Sox make it a 1-0 lead here. Move things on bottom four as the Angels fight back here. Brandon Lau, muscles one in the left field there, and then Edouard Julien taking one out to right center field. This one's going to get down into the gap. Score Lau all the way from first base as Julien delivers. It's now a 1-1 ball game, all knotted up. Move things on to the top of the fifth where Brooks Lee showing off some athleticism and incredible diving play to rob Kyle Teal of a base hit for the first out of the inning. That deserves a second look. Look at this beautiful play by the Fish and now Angels legend. Beautiful stuff for the first out. Then Rivera would have it working. He gets Lenyn Sosa to ground out to Lee for an easy out for number two. And then for the third, it was Spencer Steer going over to first base to get a clean inning for Rivera. So move things on to the bottom half of the frame where Mike Trout rips one into left field. Another hit for him on the day. He's on first with one out. Brings up Shawnuel as then Trout goes and swipes second base, gets himself into scoring position, showing off the old fleet feet there for the Millville man. As then Shawnuel flies at the left field, 2 down, and then Contreras flies at the right field, 3 down. They strand a runner at second base again. Still a 1-1 ball game, bottom 6 here. Brandon Lau muscles one into left field. Base knock to lead off the inning. Then it's Zach Neto with 2 outs. Grounds one past the first baseman as he gives it the old Olay over there. First and second. Now as the White Sox turn to Prelander Baroa out of the bullpen here with 2 outs and 2 on, and Brooks Lee would proceed to just pop one up to left field. Nothing going as the Angels strand a man at second base yet again. Still 1-1, move things on top 7 as Colson Montgomery is committing some lefty-on-lefty crime here, hitting one over in that tunnel in right field. Another solo shot for the White Sox on the day makes it a 2-1 lead here for Chicago as Penn Murphy came on in the 8th inning. He would stay on for a second inning of work in the 9th, and Brooks Lee would get things started for the Halos, going up the middle with a base knock to lead off the inning. Next batter up, Wenzel Perez, playing center field on the day, goes out to left field. So back-to-back base knocks for the Angels. Then brings up Mike Trout, who had a doozy of a time dealing with the slur from Penn Murphy, the Santa Clara man. Whiffs through the first 2 there for an 0-2 count, then after fouling off a fastball, whiffs through a third one for strike number 3. So 1 down, brings up Nolan Shawnuel, who works a 3-1 count and then connects on a pitch, sends it out towards that Boys and Girls Club sign in right field. That baby's gone. Walk-off 3-run home run for the absolute legend on this channel, Nolan Shawnuel. 3-run blast. Holy shnikes, folks. What a way to end the game. What a way to pick up a W here over the White Sox. You can't be dropping games to the White Sox, and Nolan Shawnuel says, I'm not letting that shit happen here, folks. Your final in this one is 4-2 Angels, as obviously Shawnuel is going to be your player of the game. Trout had a 2-hit game as well. Julien had an RBI double, and then Andres Rivera goes 7 innings strong, only gives up 5 hits, no walks, 7 Ks, and his only 2 runs were both solo shots, so not the worst thing in the world. Well, folks, the Los Angeles Angels going on a bit of a run here into the mid-early July portion of the season. As you can see, we're currently sitting at an 8-2 in our last 10, as the Angels have been really turning things around here as of lately. We ended up winning this series over the Chicago White Sox thanks to a walk-off home run from Nolan Shawnuel, and from that point forward, it was pretty much just like running through series. Taking out the Cubs on the road 2-3, taking out the Yankees on the road 2-3, then sweeping the Houston Astros, unfortunately dropping a series at home to the Yankees, but then rebounding with a sweep of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then even taking 3 out of 4 from the Mariners in Seattle, and now gearing up for a rubber match here against the Athletics in West Sacramento. The top of the division team here in the Athletics right before the All-Star break. So can we finish strong all of a sudden looking like we're not going to be complete sellers here at the deadline. Still the position in the division hasn't changed. We're 6.5 back in the division as the A's have a commanding lead on the division at the moment, but 17-12 in the division, that's definitely a better division record than we've had in previous seasons. I don't know why we're so poor at home. That makes no sense whatsoever. But overall, the Angels looking pretty solid here, scoring more runs than they're giving up. As far as the wild card, we're currently the third wild card team, so things are looking good. Things are looking good right now. We got to keep playing well, hope things can continue, and in order to do that, we are going to try to get some more juice out of our bats right now, and the plan is to sacrifice a little bit of center field defense by getting rid of somebody. One guy that we're going to be sending down or getting rid of is Richie Palacios. He's barely played this year. He has one more year of team control. He's done nothing. So he's making $7.7 million. We're not going to pay him the ridiculous arbitration that he's going to want next season. Nobody's going to want this guy. I've already looked through the teams when it comes to left fielders. There's just nobody who's going to want a player of this level. He's 30 years old. He's performing terribly. So we're just going to... I've already tried to send him down. He has at least 5 years of service time, so he's able to decline that. So we have to DFA him and remove him from the roster. We'll then try to outright him to AAA just because of why not. But we are actually going to try doing something a little funky here when it comes to getting some extra juice out of our bats here. We are going to call up Mr. Angelo Manuel straight from AA. He has been tearing the cover off the ball down in AA. As you can see, his ratings looking mighty, mighty fine, especially when it comes to the contact. Definitely is going to be a guy who can hold his own at the major league level. We're going to call him up, and we're going to try to get some more juice out of our bats here. You can see he's got a 4-digit OPS at the AA level, 15 home runs, 24 doubles in 313 ABs with 110 hits, already driven in 82 runs. I mean, the guy's phenomenal. 439 OBP. I mean, let's just scroll through the AA leaders here, the Southern League. The batting average by a mile is on Angelo Manuel. He leads in hits by a ton. He's tied for the league lead in doubles along with Warming Bernabel, who's down in AA for us. He's been playing very well this season. He's tied for the league lead in home runs with Xavier Isaac of the Tampa Bay Rays organization. He's got the lead in RBI by he's lapping the field with RBI. He's got the second most runs scored, only behind Nelson Rada of our team. He's got the most counting walks. He's got the highest OBP by quite a good percentage. He's got the highest slugging percentage. He's got the highest OPS by a ton. I mean, he's dominating. He's ready to come up, and we are going to promote him to the big leagues here to take Palacios' spot on the roster. Angelo Manuel is going to be playing left field every day for us. That is his position here at the big league level. We are going to sacrifice some center field defense by sending Chandler Simpson to the bench. Perez becomes our utility guy main. Meade is like the platoon guy along with Julian, and then McCann's the backup catcher. So Simpson goes to the bench. Manuel comes into the lineup every day to play left field against righties. He's hitting 9th against lefties. He's hitting 8th. At least for now, he may climb in the order. For now, that's where he's going to be. He's going to be put in the lineup because Meade and Neto theoretically should be better bats against lefties at the moment. But if he's performing better, we will move him up as it needs to be. And then Reggie Coffey is going to be our man playing center field. We've changed his primary position to center field. Obviously, we're going to take a hit with their arms with this arm in center and this arm in left field. Total noodle arms out there, but we're going to live with it. We're going to try to get some more juice out of the offense here, and hopefully the two prospects will be able to hit for us, and we're not going to get costed too much on the center field defense. I feel like Coffey's fielding and reaction are totally fine and should be able to hang in center field. It just obviously the arm isn't great. The Angels now travel out to West Sacramento to take on the Athletics here, who are leading the American League West Division, and they're going to be throwing a former Halo in Patrick Sandoval for the 20th time this season. We'll start things off top half of the first. Mike Trout leading things off for the Halos as he's been doing, and this time he's going down that right field line with a slow slow roller allows him to get into second base with a leadoff double. So then Shawnuel comes up, goes down swinging. That's one down. Next batter up, Reggie Coffey against the lefty. He goes down swinging. Uh-oh, they gonna start stranding runners at second again? Psych! Wilson Contreras muscles one into right field, Trout scores from second base, and the Angels take a 1-0 lead here in this ball game. But then Caden Dana did not have his best day on the hill here, making his 20th start of the year. And in the bottom half of the first, Nick Kurtz powers one out to left center field. The Big Amish going hop-skip over that left field wall. He's on second base with a ground rule double, and then Jacob Wilson comes up. The son of Jack Wilson hits this one over the center fielder. Reggie Coffey leaping, giving it a dive, cannot make the play. Wilson going to end up on third base with a RBI triple to make it a 1-1 ball game. Then with one out, it's Butler coming to the dishes. Dana walks him, makes it first and third with one out, brings up Zach Geloff. Chops one over to third base, scores a run. Angels are now down 2-1 as the A's take the lead. Move things on. Top two here is on Hello Manuel. Welcome to the big leagues. His first career big league knock there as he muscles that one into right field. But then, unfortunately, Lau would just pop one up to center field. Played perfectly by Mickey Moniak as he puts it away for out number 3. Then he would dig into the batter's box in the bottom of the second, and he would proceed to draw a leadoff walk, as Dana had some walk issues in this one. Next batter up, Ryan Clifford, the slugging first baseman, pokes one into left field, base knocked. First and second now here, nobody out for Ryan McMahon, who puts a charge into one to deep right center field. Coffey does track it down right before the wall, but the runners do tag up, so it's runners on the corners here, with one out for Esteury Ruiz, who flies one out to center field, but that is going to be a sac fly to make it a 3-1 lead here for the A's. Move things on. Top four is Kedis Maid, goes up the middle for a base knock. With one out, brings up Brooks Lee. He goes out to right field, so back-to-back singles here for the Halos, sets up first and second, one out for Brandon Lau, who works a 3-2 count and then muscles one through the left side of the infield, committing some lefty-on-lefty crime there, getting the Angels back up in a one-run game. It's a 3-2 now, but then Mike Trout grounds out to third base, nothing else going in the inning. So 3-2 here as Cole Waits comes on in the top of the sixth, facing Brooks Lee. Bye. Adios Pelota puts this one on that lawn in right field here in West Sacramento. A solo shot off the bat of Lee with one swing of the bat ties this game up here at 3. So we move things on. Bottom 6 as Dana continues to have walk issues. Walks Lawrence Butler for the second time this game. Runner on first, one out for Zach Geloff, who has been one of the A's best hitters this season. Goes hop-skip over the wall, and that ground rule double is going to be key. Saves the runner from scoring, so it's second and third, and the Angels turn to the lefty rookie Gage Jump, formerly of the A's organization. He strikes out Shea Langolier for the second out of the inning, but then unfortunately Mickey Moniak would spit on ball 4. Borderline pitch, but ball 4 nonetheless. And then it would bring up the slugging first baseman Ryan Clifford, and Gage Jump strikes him out. He's not like this because he's in Van Halen. He's in Van Halen because he's like this. We then move things on to the bottom half of the 8th inning, where Griffin Jax enters the game for the 38th time this season for the Halos, and with one out would face Geloff, who goes up the middle with a slow roller for a base knock, so he's on first base. And with Langoliers at the dish, he would go and proceed to swipe second base, get himself into scoring position, and then the Langoliers bat is not done. Whiffs through strike 3, gets through the legs of Contreras. He reaches first, and Geloff is on third base. So runners on the corners here with one out for Mickey Moniak. All he has to do is put a ball in the air. He does exactly that. Tags up the runner from third base, and now the A's have themselves a 4-3 lead as the flamethrower Mason Miller came on in the 9th inning, looking to close things out, facing the rookie Angelo Manuel, making his MLB debut. Pops up to center field. Then for out number 2, it's going to be Brandon Lau whiffing through a back foot slider. Nasty pitch there. And then for the final out of the ball game, Mike Trout, 100 on the radar gun there, locks him up, cannot pull the trigger, gets a favorable call as well. But still, Mason Miller shuts the door here on the Angels as the A's win this one 4-3 here in West Sacramento. brutal loss to close out the first half here for the Angels. They've been playing much better ball recently, but they still would have liked to sweep the A's here, or they would have liked to win the series over the A's, as this was the rubber match, and the A's do end up winning the series to head into the All-Star break. Jose Soriano, even the former Angel, gets the win coming out of the bullpen. Brooks Lee goes 2 for 4 in the day with a home run. Manuel does get 2 singles in his MLB debut. Only 6 hits for the Athletics as opposed to the 10 for the Halos, but still, the A's get the W. So we are here at the halfway point in the season, and unfortunately, we did drop that series to the Athletics in West Sacramento, dropping the rubber match 4-3. Brutal way to end the first half there, but still, a very encouraging second half of June into the month of July so far that we've had to get our record above 500. As of right now, sitting at 51-46 on the season, 7.5 games out of the division. So it's still within reach, but, probably not too in reach. It would take a pretty big swing for us to get into the American League West division title. But we are currently the 3rd team in the wild card. So, with that being said, we're not going to be selling. We may trade a couple guys who kind of just don't really have spots in our teams anymore. But for the most part, we're not going to be selling anybody. We'll probably be trying to acquire something to help out our team the rest of the season. Maybe not making any huge swings, but definitely trying to help out the team because we want to make the playoffs. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get in, make a run, and I feel like this team, on paper, is good enough to compete with anybody. So just taking a look at how some of our players have done here at the midway point in the season. Offense-wise, of course, Nolan Shawnuel has been our best player. 880 OPS, no longer in the 900s, but still very, very solid. Not quite putting up how many doubles did he hit last year? Not quite putting up a 52 double season, but still a respectable 20 doubles, 21 home runs, and slashing very well. 294, 372, and 508 in our 2-hole is just improving across the board, turning into a ridiculous player for us. And then Zach Neto, he has been fine. We've talked about him. He's been whatever. He's doing his thing. Chandler Simpson, no longer a starter for us. William Contreras has been improving a little bit, but still not quite the 800s, high 800s, mid to high 800s OPSs that we were expecting when we signed him. Hopefully he can get a second half that really turns it on for us and just tears the cover off the ball. But, based on the fact that these ratings are all regressing super hard, probably not going to happen. Reggie Coffey, though, he has really started to turn things on. He's starting to turn into that premier player that we want him to be. Hitting almost 300, 288, 357 OBP is fantastic, and 828 OPS. He's on fire, continuing to improve across the board. We love to see it. And then Trout also has been really, really good for us this year. A 900 OPS, which is the highest on the team. 21 bombs on the year for him and 13 doubles here in our leadoff spot. So, he's cooking in that leadoff spot. Let's let him cook there for the rest of the season, at least until he starts slumping some more. But for now, Mike Trout is doing his thing in the leadoff spot. Edouard Julien has been pretty solid for us. Brooks Lee, we would like to see some more out of him, but, it is what it is. Brandon Lau, definitely a guy that we want to see more from. Second base is definitely an opportunity for us to improve at the deadline, I feel like. Perez is the utility guy, has been awful. McCann's the backup catcher, who cares? And Curtis Mead, only really playing against lefties and not really getting the job done in that opportunity. While on the pitching side of things, our 2 lefties of McClanahan and Andres Rivera have really carried the load for us. McClanahan with 2.8 ERA and a 3.3 FIP. 2.9 WAR so far in the season. Same with Rivera, 2.9 wins above replacement. He's got a 2.98 FIP and a 4.14 ERA. Not striking out as many guys, but walking less, giving up less home runs, and just overall being a very solid pitcher, him and Rivera. Dana has started to turn things around a little bit to the point where he's a bit more respectable, but still not quite what he was last year for us. Klassen still can't really put it together. Detmers are starting to turn things around as well, which is good to see. Ryan Johnson has been decent. We currently have Nick Mears as the top middle reliever because he's been so good, and Ryan Johnson's been knocked down a spot in the bullpen. Ben Joyce been fantastic in the back end. Same with Griffin Jacks. Jose Quijada's been solid. Nick Mears has been really good. Kelvin Caceres, since coming up from AAA, has been solid in 18 innings. Alex Jacob has been really good in 16 and a third since coming up from AAA. Or Alec Jacob. I always want to say Alex. Alec Jacob. And then Gage Jump, we just saw him have a huge moment against the Athletics. Unfortunately, it came in a losing effort, but overall, definitely not the greatest numbers with the 5.68 FIP and the 2.8 home runs per nine, but it's only 6 and a third, so we can hope things will improve for him. As far as some of the league leaders for us, Nolan Shawnoel is actually tied for second in runs scored with Jarren Duran and Bryson Stott of the Texas Rangers. And then we also have, when it comes to OBP, Shawnoel is top 10 in the league. He's 9th with a 372 OBP. When it comes to OPS, he is also, he's not top 10, but we do have Trout who's top 10. He's 7th with a 902 OPS, and then Shawnoel is just outside the top 10 in 13th with an 880 OPS. But as we know, that has been higher on the season, so it could very well climb at some point, and he could find himself back in this range of like 5 to 8. And then Ben Joyce, he's currently top 5 in saves. Luis Perales of the Red Sox is the leader in saves. Then Doval of the Royals, Clase, Mason Miller, who we just saw, and then Ben Joyce is tied for him with 29 saves on the campaign. In the ERA category, Justin Steele has a 2.03 ERA through 128 and a third innings pitched, which is just insane for the Cleveland Guardians. But then Shane McClanahan, top 5 in ERA with a 2.8 ERA. Really, really solid season for him. That's what we were expecting to get from him when we got him on the team. And so far this season, he has been living up to what we want him to be. And then look at this. You got home runs allowed. The least in the league is Tarek Skubal. Really, really good pitcher. Justin Steele. Really, really good pitcher. And Andres Rivera, our young phenom, the lefty out of Venezuela. And then McClanahan also has the second most strikeouts in the American League, only behind Dylan Cease of the Minnesota Twins, who we know is a big-time strikeout pitcher. And then McClanahan also has the second most innings pitched through the American League, only behind Sandy Alcantara of the Seattle Mariners. And then McClanahan also top 3 in WHIP. He's got a sub-1 WHIP, which is always fantastic. Only Brady Singer of the A's and Justin Steele of the Guardians is in front of him. And then you take a look at the pitching war. It's Skubal, Steele, Cease, and then 4-5. You have both Rivera and McClanahan with a 2.9 WAR. Cease also has a 2.9, so all three of these guys could be, I guess, it's obviously into a decimal point, but for now, Andres Rivera and McClanahan are 4 or 5 respectively, both top 5 in the league. And then when it comes to the hitting side of things, our first player on here is William Contreras. So even with his down offensive season, he still has the highest batting WAR on our team because Mike Trout is a corner outfielder and Nolan Shawnoel is a DH, and those are our usual 2 best hitters, while Contreras obviously plays a premier position. And then even Coffey's a bit higher. He's got a 2.9 WAR here in 18th in the American League. So you got to scroll all the way down to 47th to get to Shawnoel because there's just obviously not going to be up there in the leaders for WAR when you're a DH. That's just, the nature of the position. I do think it's crazy that Trout is not even anywhere on this list. I don't know if he just hasn't played enough to qualify, but he's just not in the top 50. He only has a 0.7 WAR, so not really sure how that adds up. I mean, maybe he's been poor defensively, I guess. The 961 fielding percentage is not great. He is getting older in a corner outfield spot, but his bat has been good this season, so we will take that for sure. And then just to show it, because why not, those are your All-Star Game starters when it comes to the American League. As far as players on our team who made it, Shane McClanahan makes it as a starting pitcher. Andres Rivera does not make it. Ben Joyce is actually the top vote-getting closing pitcher, which I don't think they show on this list. They don't. They just show pitchers overall. But the top vote-getter for closers was Ben Joyce of the Angels. Logan O'Hoppe makes it as a member of the Twins, despite the fact that he is having a not great season, a 724 OPS. Don't really know how he makes the All-Star game, and Contreras doesn't with a 3 WAR, but, it is what it is. Nolan Shawnoel, of course, makes it as a first base. I'm sure he'll also be listed as a DH here. He is indeed also listed as a DH, so those are our only All-Stars here in the 2028 All-Star Game. And then just as a little trade deadline preview, we are going to show one more game this episode, and then we'll be doing the trade deadline and playoff push in the next episode. But just to give you guys a little preview of what we're considering here at the deadline, these are the players that we will be open to trading. Brandon Lau, I think I would want to keep at least for the rest of the season and maybe trade him in the offseason. But if there's a package where we can, trade Lau and get something that can help us at the second base position, I would not be opposed to doing that. But also at the same time, I would kind of like to keep Lau and just have this sort of player on our team because on paper, he's a good player. He just hasn't performed for us this season, unfortunately. But then we have Curtis Mead on here as a trade bait piece, Wenzel Perez, Christian Moore. I think his time in the organization is over. We could possibly try to trade him to an organization that might want to take a chance on him. And then some of the more prospect type guys is Jeff Mitchell, or I guess really only Jeff Mitchell is the prospect here because he is a 22-year-old A potential starter. It's a very, very high A potential too, but there's two reasons why I'm open to trading this guy if we can get something really good for him. It's because, one, don't love the break. The break's not fantastic. The rest of the stuff is very solid across the board. He could very well be a really good pitcher for us, going to work deep into games. It's not like my first choice is to trade this guy, but if the package is out there that we can trade this guy for, that's something that's going to help us now and in the long term, I would be open to doing that, especially since we don't really have too many spots open in the rotation coming up here. We are going to have him with Detmers leaving after the season, but we have some other guys in the system that we like pretty much just as much as we like Mitchell, one of those being John Burgess, which we'll talk about in here in a second. But Jeff Mitchell, don't love the break, and we also don't love the durability. It's not the greatest durability I've ever seen. Rivera has similar durability, so it can go up, but, if we can hang on to him, we will do that, and he might be in our rotation next season. But if we don't, and we can find something that's like too good to pass up for a Mitchell trade, we would be open to doing that. And then we just have Taylor Dollard and Evan McKendry here as AAA depth sort of guys with B potentials who we could, not try to cheese the CPU with a B potential trade, but also use as depth starting pitching as a trade piece. And then, like I said, John Burgess here is the other starter who we like really just as much as Jeff Mitchell. It's a bit of a give and take with him where his Ks and his walks aren't going to be as great as Mitchell long term, but they're not bad. His hits per nine are solid, and he's not going to give up any home runs. Throws super hard, has much better break. Not going to be able to work as deep in the games with 61 stamina, but we're not asking our guys to go 8 innings all the time anyways. You give us 5 or 6, that's totally fine by me. And then also John Burgess, 99 durability. So not much to hate there. We think he's just as good of a prospect as Jeff Mitchell is. He's actually listed as the #1 prospect in all of baseball. So John Burgess really climbing those rankings at the moment here in the organizational rankings here, whereas Jeff Mitchell is listed as the number 10 best prospect in baseball here. Also, I should mention that we did do the draft, and I totally forgot to record it. I was literally sitting here talking about it as I was doing it, and I thought that I hit start recording. I somehow did not. So once we're able to go in here and look at all the guys, I will go in and talk about those players. And we've already got ourselves one of our stunning trades here is Kevin McGonigal going to the Tampa Bay Rays in return for 2 prospects, a prospect for 2 prospects trade. I doubt either of these guys are equivalent to Kevin McGonigal, who could be a really, really good... I mean, he's already played. He's not even really a prospect. He's got 4 years of Major League service time at this point, almost, I guess 3 full. He's going to be borderline 4 by the end of the season. Has never really... This season he's playing very, very well for Detroit, but aside from these other seasons, he was not doing too well the past 3 years in the majors. But this year, hitting extremely well for Detroit, who I know just continues to struggle in the standings every year. While Santiago Suarez is a B potential, this is definitely a really good starter they get, so at least they're not giving up total scrubs for him. And then Seaver King, also a B potential prospect who I believe they got in the Carson Williams trade. So here is the time to sign draft picks here. The first day opened up. Our first round pick was Carlton Edom, however you say this guy's name, a Virginia outfielder. Looks like he could possibly be like a center fielder type with some big power. He might look like a Christian Moore type bat to start with some high power, lowish contact and vision discipline, but he could develop into quite a power threat with some good contact, vision, and discipline to go along with it, and he has that potentially really good outfield glove as well, like a center field type glove. We were looking at him more of a center fielder than a right fielder. That's why we decided to take him first round. And also, he was just the only good bat available in the first round at that point when we were on the board, 11th overall. Round 2, we took Walter Guzman. He is a closing pitcher out of Venezuela. He was projected to go 28 in the first round. We got him like 50th, I believe it was. So I thought it was pretty good value. We know for sure that he's at least a B potential, could be an A potential, could be a really, really solid back end of the reliever type arm for us as a right-hander, 21 years old. And then in round 3, I believe we took Barry Lopez was our round 3 pick. He's one of these high floor, low ceiling type pitchers. We know for a fact that he's at least a C potential, has some really good starting pitching ratings, could be like an immediate contender, an immediate producer for us next season in the rotation. Depends on how things are going to shake out. We will see in the offseason, but looks like he could be a good player, the right-hander out of Panama. And then in round 4, we took this Tommy Hollander guy, who we did not really have scouted, but I thought he was an interesting reliever. Lefty out of Louisiana. Felt like he looks like he could throw hard, home runs per 9, hits per 9, all the stuff we like. We don't really have him scouted, but I figured he was just, take a risk on the guy. And then in round 5, we ended up taking Timmy Hudson, not to be confused with Tim Hudson, the former ace. This is a left-hander out of Indiana, 18 years old, high stamina, looks like he could be really good. We know he's at least a C, could be a B. Hopefully it turns out to be like that. And, we took him in round 5. He was draft ranked undrafted. Our draft rank for him was 37. So I felt like in round 5, we just had to take this guy. And then in round 6, similar situation. We took Cesar Maraville as our final pick. Draft rank unranked. And then for us, he was 31st overall. So I just felt like the upside was just too much to ignore here. So we took him. Maybe he's a D and he's a bust, but maybe he's an A and he's not a bust. We only have him 50% scattered. We'll have to see how things shake out with him. On Hello Manuel and the Halos, taking on the Mariners out in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. As Logan Gilbert, the right-hander, was the one chucking the pill for the Mariners on the day, the former Stetson Hatter, making his 22nd start of the season. Here with one out, it's Nolan Schoenwell going out to right center field, puts a charge into this one. Julio ranging back, gives it a leap. No fly zone. Holy shnikes, folks. Brings it back in the ballpark. That deserves another lick. First, it's Denzel Clark, and now Julio robbing Schoenwell. My goodness, keeping that in the ballpark. Still 0-0, but not for long, as Julio could not totally save him. Contreras pokes one into right field for a base knock, and then Edouard Julien showing off some opposite field power. When are you going to roll again? Well, right now, folks. A 2-run blast for the Quebecois makes it a 2-0 lead here for the Halos to start things off, as Reed Detmers, the lefty from Louisville, making the 22nd start of the season for him. We'll start things off bottom half of the third on his side of view, as Johnny Farmelo goes down swinging. Look at this man. No flaps on the batting helmet and no gloves. That is not what he looks like in real life. I don't know why that's the case, but he goes down to start off the inning, but then McCabe singles out to right field. Victor Robles acting like that's a seed that he's throwing into right field. As then Cole Young comes up with a single of his own, this time to left field. That's going to score a run, make it the 2-1 ball game. Cuts the lead in half, as then Mark O'Connor grinds into a tailor-made inning-ending 6-4-3 double play. So it's just a 2-1 game now as move things on. Top 5, Kyle McCann muscling this 3-2 pitch out to left field, giving it a leap is Farmelo, and he brings it back in. The Angels getting robbed twice in the same game for home runs. But then we move things on to the 6th, where Mike Trout is going to reach on a dropped third strike as Harry Ford, the Englishman, cannot get a handle on it, as then Gilbert crosses him up on a slider there, torturing the English catcher back behind the plate. I know he's not actually from England, his parents are. You don't have to comment about it. But anyways, Sean Newell then flies out to right field, Trout tags at the third base, and then Contreras flies out to left field, deep enough to tag up Trout. Some situational hitting makes it a 3-1 lead for the Angels. As it's now moving things on to the bottom of the 7th, where Reed Detmers just had it working on the day. The Louisville lefty getting Julio to fly out for the first out. Then Cole Emerson comes up, lines one to center field. Coffey charges it, stabs it for out number 2. And then Scott Schaefer flies out to left field. 7 solid innings for Reed Detmers on the day. Probably his best start in the season, if not one of the best. As Griffin Jacks move things on bottom of the 8th, he comes into the game, gives up a 1-out double to Farmelo here. He ends up on second base in scoring position. As then the next batter up would be Ben McCabe. He proceeds to the ground one at the shortstop. Easy play for Lee. Makes it 2 down. And then Victor Robles pops one up into right field foul territory. Mike Trout ranging over, giving it a dive, making the catch. The old man laying out for it. Beautiful play by Trout in foul territory. As then Ben Joyce comes on looking for his 32nd save of the season. And he would get just that, getting Julio to fly out for the 3rd out of the inning. Closes the door here in Seattle, as the Angels take a 2-0 lead in this series over the Mariners by a score of 3-1. Here as the Halos get the W. Reed Detmers, the Louisville lefty, gets player of the game honors. He goes 7 innings, only 3 hits, 3 Ks, 2 walks, and only 1 earned run given up. Edouard Julien, 2-run home run in the first inning. McCann almost had 2 homers. He had the one robbed by Farmelo, and then he had one that I didn't show that was a barely miss of a home run down the left field line that was like 3 meters left of the pole. And then William Contreras, the catcher, also had a 2-hit day for the Angels. Overall, very solid performance by the Halos as they win this one over one of the better teams in the AL West division, as they continue to play very, very good baseball here heading into this trade deadline. Should be interesting to see what happens at the deadline and how the Angels play down the stretch to see if they can finally get into the playoffs here in 2028. So with that being said, that's going to wrap things up here for this edition of the Angels here on MLB The Show 25. I've been your host, JerseyBorn, and I'm saying, I'm going to go listen to some Dinosaur Jr.